grade 11 CAT. My name is Alan Flint, and I will be teaching you guys today. I see it is 4 o'clock, so we are going to get started with the lesson. What we are going to be doing today is we are going to be focusing on a new section of work, and that is called Access. Access is a database management system, and it is a section of work that you guys did not do in grade 10. Also, it wasn't covered at the beginning of grade 11. However, we started now in grade 11 term 2, and it is covered in matric as well. So it's an important section that you do understand. It probably counts about 20% of your matric final paper. So it is an important section for you to understand. And like I said, a lot of the students actually haven't worked on Access before. It's the first time actually looking at it, first time seeing it. And so what I'm going to try and do is work through this at a slow pace. We're going to spend the entire week looking at Access, just giving you a good overview of what actually happens in Access, what Access is about. And yeah, from there, if you have any questions, please just raise your hand, and I'm happy to discuss any queries that you may have, and we'll take it from there. Awesome. Okay, so the first thing that we are going to look at is the what you will need to understand by the end of this lesson. So I have 3 learning objectives for you guys today. The first one is the purpose and function of a database. What I want you guys to understand is what we are actually using a database for. So the purpose and function of a database. The next thing we are going to do is we are going to look at the structure of a database. So what a database actually looks like. So I've got a database that I'll open up, and we'll work through it, and we'll look at different sections of the database and give you a good overview of what a database looks like. And then thirdly, we are going to look at how to edit and how to format a table in a database. So those are the 3 learning outcomes for this lesson today: the purpose and function of a database, the structure of a database, how to edit and format a table in a database. This is what you need to understand and hopefully get by the end of this lesson. So what we have done so far in grade 10 is we've looked, and grade 11, is we've looked at the Microsoft Office suite. And Microsoft Office is a system of programs, or a combination of programs that work together, and they've got various different aspects. Obviously, the first one that we had a look at, and one that you are probably very familiar with, is Microsoft Word. Microsoft Word is obviously your text editor, used for making letters, for creating documents, and probably the one that most people are familiar with. The second one that you probably would have had a look at in grade 10 as well is Microsoft Excel. Microsoft Excel, we do performing of calculations, making graphs, and processing data in Excel as well. This is probably one that you are familiar with as well. And then we did PowerPoint as well in grade 10. PowerPoint is not a huge section. Yeah, Priyanka, question. Stop me as you go. You can have a question now. Let's see. Yes.
So
yeah, it's a small boy that fell in.
there
More stable. Yeah.
is
Yeah, you need that.
Sorry, Priyanka, I've just unmuted there, so you can ask the question if you want.
I'm glad you did that. Jokes aside, long term you will see it.
oh, so
yes, yeah.
so is it
You
only
did
me
that.
because in the previous videos there was also other kids?
So far it's just you, but yeah, I think we'll carry on for now. If there are other students that arrive, then they're just a little bit late. So we did start at 4 o'clock.
Okay, thanks, sir.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so if you do have any other questions, Priyanka, you're more than welcome to ask. If it's just you in the lesson, that's 100%. We're still going to continue. Okay, so we looked at Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and then what we are doing today is we are looking at Access. Like I said, PowerPoint was covered in grade 10 and it was a small section. However, we don't do it in grade 10, we don't do it in grade 11 or grade 12. So what we're focusing on today is Microsoft Access. Okay, so what is Access? Microsoft Access is a database management system. So essentially, it is a system that manages databases. It's a program where companies or individuals are able to store their databases, or store their databases and their data. What is the purpose of Access? The first purpose of Access is to store data electronically. So any data that you may have, data on products that you are selling, data on volunteers or people that are working for you, or customers that you may have, this is all data that can be stored on a computer. And generally what businesses and individuals do is they store that data electronically on a specific database program. Now you get different types of database programs, but for now, all that you need to understand is that Access is the program that stores data, and this is the program that you will be using in grade 11 and in grade 12 extensively. The purpose of Access is also to manipulate and change data. So what you will do is you will have data that is stored in a database in Access, and you are able to manipulate and change that data to meet specific criteria that you may have, or to search for specific things that you may have. And the last purpose of Access is to process data. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take you back to grade 10 theory definitions. You may or may not understand the section, or you may have covered it. I hope that you have, because it was in the grade 10 curriculum. It's two definitions that you need to understand. The first definition is the definition of data. Now, when we had a look at these definitions, we had a look at them in grade 10, and data, the definition for data is raw, unprocessed facts. And the definition for information is processed data. The reason why I'm giving you guys these definitions is so that you can understand what we are going to be doing with that data in Access. Like I said, data is raw, unprocessed facts, and that data is stored inside a database. What we will then do with that data is we will process that data and turn that processed data into the processed facts. Sorry, we'll take the unprocessed facts and we'll turn them into processed data, which is information. So in your database, you may have a table full of unprocessed facts, but what you are able to do in Access is you are able to take those unprocessed facts and turn them into information which is useful and meaningful. What companies will generally do is they'll have large databases with products that they sell, with customers that they have, with people that work for them, and all of that data is unprocessed. But what you may then do is take that data, process it, and maybe find out which customers are buying certain products, which employees are making you the most money. That is what a database essentially does. It takes data that is unprocessed and turns it into information. Is it Priyanka, you got a question there, huh? Or not?
No,
Okay,
I don't.
No problem. Okay, so that is the two definitions that we have for grade 10 that sort of form the basis of what we are looking at today. Data, turning it into information. So what is a database then? A database is a collection of data or facts, and they are generally related to a specific topic. So all of your customers that buy from your store will be stored in one database. All of the people that work for your company will be stored in a single database. All of the products that you sell will be stored in one database. So it's a collection of data, all facts regarding a specific topic. Getting into what a database looks like. What I've done here is I've created a small database for you. And this essentially is what a database looks like. As you can see, the database that I've created is a Premier League info database. So it's got all of the teams that are in the English Premier League, and it's got the club that they play, it's got the stadium that they play at, it's got their current position in the league, it's got their goals scored, it's got whether or not they're in the relegation zone, the Premier League titles won, and their current manager over here. So this is an example of what a database may look like. Another example over here of what a database may look like is this one over here. Sorry, the image is a little bit blurry, but it is volunteers that possibly work for your company or are helping out at a specific event. As you can see over here, it's got the volunteer ID. It's got the first name of the person that is volunteering. It's got the last name of the person that's volunteering, the date that the person started working at or volunteering, their phone number, their mobile number, as well as their email address. This is a classic example of what a database may look like. If I'm going too fast, or if you've got any questions, please just stop me. I'm happy to discuss the questions, and we can sort of have a discussion around what we're actually going through. Cool. So what we did so far is we looked at the database, we looked at what it looks like, we discussed what a database is, we looked at some definitions, the purpose of access, and then, yeah, so we've sort of done a nice sort of overview of what a database is. What I'd like to do now is I'd like to just look at the way that Access differs from other Microsoft programs. Before I carry on, any other questions? You guys okay? You can just give me a yes or a thumbs up if you guys are okay. We'll continue. Awesome. Perfect. Nice, guys. Stop me again if you have any questions. I am happy to discuss things. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, please, I'm happy to discuss things and provide some clarity on what we're doing over here. So how does Access differ from other Microsoft programs? In Microsoft Word, I have taken a screenshot and just pasted in the ribbon that can be found in Microsoft Word. And I've also pasted the ribbon that can be found in Microsoft Access. You'll notice some differences as well as some similarities in the functionality of Microsoft Word and Microsoft Access. So you'll notice over here that both of them have a home tab. Access has got a create tab. Microsoft has got Word has got an insert tab. Word has got a design tab. Access has got an external data tab. Access has got a database tools tab, a fields tab, as well as a table tab. So most of these over here are different in comparison to Microsoft Word. You can see over here the tabs that you'll find in Microsoft Word are design, page layouts, references, mailings, review, as well as view. What we are going to focus on today is we are just going to focus on this home tab and the text formatting section of this tab over here. This section of the ribbon in Microsoft Access is very, very similar to the one that's found in Microsoft Word. So there shouldn't be any differences or confusion around that. But like I said, if you guys aren't understanding, if you've got any questions, please feel free. We'll discuss it and we'll get some clarity on that. Cool. Microsoft Access. A first look at Microsoft Access. We are looking at what's called a table in Microsoft Access. So I've created the table over here, and I'm showing you guys the table. And you will notice again that we've got columns and we've got rows which look very, very similar to Microsoft Excel. Yes, Priyanka, you got a question there.
So how do you create a table on Access?
That's a very, very good question. Thank you very much, Priyanka, for asking. What you will do, I'm going to go back one slide over here. You'll notice over here in Microsoft Access, you've got the Create tab. In the Create tab, this is where we create tables. We are not going to necessarily focus on it today, but I will show you when I open up Access where you can create a table. Okay, so in the Create tab of Microsoft Access, that's where you create a table.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. I hope that's helped. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to look at is we're going to look at the table. This over here on my screen is the table. A table, like I said, looks very similar to Microsoft Excel or even a table in Microsoft Word. However, once we get into Access, there are a lot of different things that we can do with this. I just simply put an image over here so that you can see what the table is. The second thing that you guys need to know, so the first thing, number one, we need to know what a table is. Number two, we need to know what a record is. A record over here is one of these rows. A row and a record is pretty much the same thing. You guys can refer to it as a row, but generally in Access, we refer to it as a record. So over here, you can see that I highlighted obviously the best team over here, Chelsea. They play at Stamford Bridge. Their current position is 4th. The goals scored this season is 51. Are they in the relegation zone? No. And then the best finishes, Premier League titles is 6, and the current manager is Frank Lampard. You'll notice that every single one of these rows, every single bit of information over here makes up the record. So this entire thing over here is your record. Leicester City, King Power, 358, all of that is the record. Chelsea, Stamford Bridge, 4, 51, unchecked, 6, Frank Lampard, that is the record. So a row and a record are very similar. The next thing that you guys need to know is the field in Access. An entire column is known as a field. So over here you can see that I have highlighted, well, I've got a little box around the field called club. All of these over here are called fields. Okay, you've got club field, you get stadium field, current position field, goal scored field. All of those are known as fields. Another name for a field is a column. So we have three things that we need to understand there. The first thing is we need to understand the table. This entire thing over here is the table. The second thing we need to know is the record, also known as a row. The third thing we need to understand is the field, also known as the columns. Okay, so table, record, and field. And what you'll have to do in exam situations is you'll have to take a field and you'll have to edit the field, or you'll have to add a new field, or you'll have to manipulate the data within a field, or you'd have to manipulate the data within a record, or add a record, or delete a record. So it's very important that you understand those terms, because if you understand those terms, it becomes a lot easier to answer the questions in an exam situation. Awesome. So what we are going to be doing now is we are going to be going into a Access database, and I'm going to show you exactly the pictures that I've been kind of going through over here. Okay, so on your screen right now, you should see the Access database. Okay, I've just opened it up to you. What you can now see is Access, right? However, we cannot see anything on Access. All that we are currently seeing is the tabs at the top, and we can see the ribbon over here. And all that you can see right now is that everything is kind of is muted and it's gray and you can't really click on anything. Okay, and this big white space over here, which represents nothing. Okay, a lot of kids get confused about this. They say, oh, where's my database? I can't find my database. I don't know where it is. It's extremely important for you guys to work your way around Access, to spend a lot of time on Access. Because we don't use it that often, people are just not that familiar with it, which means that the more time you spend on it, the easier it's going to get to kind of understand where to go and how to kind of access features and where to where to find things. Yeah, cool. So like I said, there are three things that we need to understand. The first thing was our table, the second thing was our record, and the third thing was our field. Those are the sort of the main sort of features that we are looking at today. We are also, like I said, going to look at how to edit the table. So what I'm going to do here on the left of my screen, you should be able to see all Access objects over here that are open. I'm just going to expand it a little bit so that you can see it. All Access objects. These are all the objects that are currently in my database. Okay, and as you can see, I've only got one object. Now, I don't want you to worry too much about this section just yet, and about all the different objects that you may get. But what we are going to focus on is the one object that I do have over here, and that is my Premier League information. So if you want to open up your table, what you will do is you'll double click on this over here, and you can see over here that my table has just opened. Okay, and this is the table that you saw in the previous slides that I was going through. Okay, I hope you guys are following, that you guys are with me. Just click a yes or a no, or go slower, or go faster, so that I can see that you guys are okay. You guys good? Yes? Awesome. Let me know if I should go faster, if I should go slower, and if you got any questions, happy to answer them. Okay, so the first thing that we had a look at was the table, and what I did is I just opened up the table for you guys. What you'll notice over here is that it's called the Premier League info. That is the table's name. Just like every one of us has got a name, every single table within a database has got a name. So you might have 5 or 6 different tables on the left of your screen over here, and each one of them will have different sets of information in it, and each one of them will also have a different name. It's extremely important to understand that we get different tables within a database. Okay, so this one over here, like I said, the name is the Premier League info table. I'm going to click over here, and this highlights the ID, which is 1, the club, which is Liverpool, the stadium, which is Anfield, current position 1, goals scored 66, relegation zone unchecked, Premier League titles 18, best finishing position 1, current manager Jurgen Klopp. The reason why I highlighted that is to outline the fact that this entire row is known as a record. Okay, this row over here is known as a record, just to kind of repeat that over here. Manchester City, that entire row is known as a record. Leicester City, that entire row is known as a record. Chelsea, known as a record. Manchester United, known as a record. That entire row across your screen, the one that you see that is blue right now, that is known as a as a record. Awesome. So just to kind of recap again, your table, your record, and then after that comes your, if you guys know it, it is your field. Excellent. Okay, so we have a number of different fields within this table. Your field can also be referred to as your column. So you get an ID field, your club field, your stadium field, your current position, goals scored field, relegation zone field, Premier League titles field, best finishing position field. All of those are fields. And like I said earlier, what you will need to do is you will need to know how to edit a field, how to delete a field, how to change a field. And what we will do is I will show you guys how to add fields, how to delete fields, how to delete records, how to add records. Okay. Maybe not today, but in the lessons to come. We're going to kind of build on this and take a little journey together to make sure that we all understand Access and that we get onto a good front foot with Access. Because if you get a good foundation on Access or anything in life, you will be A for a way. But the minute we sort of fall behind on anything, it becomes difficult to catch up. Okay, so we are doing, again, we are doing Access, and we are looking at the fields, the tables, and the records. So far, I hope it makes sense to you. Again, we can discuss anything that questions that you may have. Okay, so like I said to you during the slideshow, what we're going to try and do is we're going to look at how to edit this, these records and these tables. Okay, we're going to edit the data within our table. So the first thing I want to show you to do is I want to show you how to edit the record within a table. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to change the width of the record. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my mouse and I'm going to hover in between the two records, and I'll find a little line. And once I've found the black arrow going down and the black arrow going down and the black arrow going up, I will click on that and I will hold my mouse down and I will drag the record down. This means that the record will now increase in its width. Priyanka, you got a question?
Oh, so I was just gonna ask, why do you have to change the record's length?
You don't necessarily have to, but for example, in a test, they might ask you to change the width of the record. The one reason they may ask you to do it is because the information doesn't fit into the record. So let's say, for example, I change the size over here. I don't know if you can see my screen. If I change the size over here, you'll notice that everything doesn't really fit in. So if I increase the size over here, it will hopefully fit in, if that makes sense.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. I'm gonna have to change that back now. Okay, so that was changing the width. That was changing the width of the record. That's the first thing we want to look at in editing. It's an easy mark for you guys to get. And sometimes students will sit and they'll get like 0 out of 40 for a matric final paper because they just don't understand anything that's going on in Access and they don't understand the terms. It's very important for you guys to understand the terminology and what we are referring to when we say change the record width. That keyword over there is record. And let's say for another example, change the field. It's very important to understand those key terms, the record, as well as the field, as well as the table. If you can understand that terminology, it becomes so much easier to kind of answer the matric exams or the grade 11 exams that you might write on Access. Okay, so what we've just done is we've edited a record width. What I've done there is I've taken an arrow in between the two records and I've dragged it down. And you'll notice that every single record changes over there in terms of its width. It stays like that for the records. The fields, not the same. The records, everything kind of has to, for neatness purposes, they're the same. You got another question there, Priyanka, or is your hand still up?
No.
Okay, no problem. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give you an example that they may ask in a test or an exam. What they may ask in an exam, they might say, change the record width to 30 units. Change the record width to 30 units. That, you know, I think that's quite an easy question. Like, okay, I now need to change the width of a record, but how do I change it to 30 units? Because what I've shown you right now is all I've shown you is how to change the width by dragging up and down. Another way to change the width is by right-clicking on any one of the records. So I'm going to right-click over there, and I'm going to scroll down to row height, and then I'm going to change the row height to 30. And there we go. That's how we would change the row height of a record. Sorry, I think I was referring it to width before. It's obviously height. So that is editing the rows in a table. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to focus on a similar sort of section. We are going to look at changing the width, not the height. We're going to look at the fields. Obviously, we know that all of these over here are fields. What we're going to do is we're going to change the field width over here. So I'm going to take that across over there, and now I've just changed the width, width and height. Yes, I'm getting my width and height confused. I'm changing the width of the field over there. Okay. Again, very similar. What you'll do is you'll take the mouse, you'll hover in between the two fields until you get the little black arrow that's pointing to the left and to the right, and then you hold your mouse down and you drag across until you get the desired width. Again, the reason why we do this is because, number one, they might ask you to do it in an exam, and then you kind of have to do it because you want to get the marks. Another reason that you may want to do that is so that you can get everything to fit into a field. You'll notice over here, if I drag this field across over here, in this record that you see over here, the King Power Stadium, the whole word doesn't fit in over there. And Stamford Bridge, the whole word doesn't fit in over there. If I increase the width of the field, you'll now notice that the entire sentence or the entire word fits into the column. Over here again, you can notice at the top of the screen, the current position field doesn't really show. It just says current posi, which doesn't really make any sense, or maybe it does. But we'd take the width over here, we'd change the width, and we'd increase the width until you can see the entire field name. Okay. Again, another way to do it over here is to right-click on the field name and go to field width, and then change it to boom, whatever you want it to be. Let's say 18, and then go OK. Okay. Awesome. So that is looking at the width and the height of your rows and your records. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to kind of change it up so that my table looks a little bit neater, so that you can kind of see everything over here. And you'll notice that this, again, as I mentioned before, is changing the width of my fields, and there we go. And if I change the height of my rows, that's the way that I do it over there. Cool. So now the way that we do that over there is, yeah, sorry, Priyanka, got a question?
Sorry, sir. Someone asked you a question in your comments.
Oh, geez. Okay, sorry. Where is that? Let me just find it quick. I'm trying to get the comments out over here.
I think it's at group chat.
There, if you go to the bottom of your screen and you see chat.
Okay, sorry, I'm just getting it up here. There we go. Sorry. Okay, sorry, I only saw that question coming through now. How do we change the width or just one record without changing the other records? It's a good question. With the width, everything has to be changed. So every single record is going to change when you change the height. But with the fields, you can change individual ones. But with the height, every single one of them is going to change. I hope that answers the question. Cool. Yeah, so that was a good question over there. So if you want to change the height, every single height is going to change. You can't just change one individual one. Okay, what we're going to go to do now is alignment, and you'll probably remember alignment from Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel. Alignment is done in a very similar manner to Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, and we find it in the Home tab of Access. What you'll do is you'll click on, let's say, for example, the club over here. I'm clicking on club, and I'm going to align my text to the left. It's already aligned to the left, so it can stay like that. I'm now going to click on my stadium field, and what I'll do over there is I'm going to align it to the left as well, just to kind of neaten things up a little bit. What I'm going to do then is I'm going to click on current position, and I'm going to align it to the middle so that it's kind of a little bit centered and a little bit neat as well. What I'll do from there is I'll go to goals scored. This is my goals scored field, and I'm going to align this to the center as well so that it looks a little bit neater. Again, you may be asked to do this in an exam, and then obviously you have to do it to get the marks. The other reason you would be able to do it, or you'd want to do it, is to kind of neaten up your table a little bit so that you've got it. Okay, best finishes over here, best finishing position. You can align it to the center as well over there. And let's say, for example, you want to align best manager or current managers, you can justify or right align it, you can center align it, or you can left align it. You can do that to any one of your fields. Okay. Next thing over here is your records over here. If you want to change the font size, you can change the font size over here. But again, if you change the font size, it's going to change the font size of the entire table. So for example, if I go to here and I click on font size and I change it to 14, the entire table changes. If I change it to 8, the entire table changes. If I change the font style to Arial, the entire table changes. If I change it to Arial Black, the entire table changes. This is a different feature compared to Microsoft Word or Microsoft Excel, where you are able to change one particular word or one particular section of a document. In Microsoft Access, the entire table gets changed when you change this table. Okay, hope that makes sense. Just gonna check here. Cool. No questions yet. Just if you do have questions, just let me know. Cool. And then, yeah, I think that covers everything that you guys need to know for now in terms of your table, your record, your field, how to kind of edit it. Again, just going back over here, you can bold, you can make it bold, you can make it italics, you can change it to underlined. But like I said, and like you can see on the screen, if you change and if you edit one section of the table, the entire section changes, or the entire table changes. You can change the writing as well to blue, which is very similar to what you can do in Microsoft Word or Excel. But if you do that, the entire table changes over here. So let's change it back to black. We'll take away the underlined, take away the italics, take away the bold. Again, usually in an exam situation, what you will be asked to do is you'll say, change the font style of the table, of the Premier League information table. And you'll need to know that you need to go find the right style and then change it from there. One other thing over here is just the grid lines that you might want to use. Grid lines are found over here. You can have both grid lines. That means that you have lines running vertically as well as horizontally across the table. If you want to take those out and only have grid lines that are horizontal, you click over there. That means that you no longer have those lines running straight down your screen. Another one, just the vertical grid lines. That means that you only have vertical grid lines and you don't have horizontal lines over here. A couple of other things, formatting and editing. You can change the color of each alternate row. You can change it to blue, and you can change the height over here to 10. Let's say, for example, I'm going to change it back to 18. Here we go. I am going to go back to my PowerPoint now. And I'm going to not save it. You usually be asked to save your entire document, but that is it for now in terms of editing and formatting in Access. Just to recap, the purpose of Access, we looked at Access compared to Microsoft Word and Excel, just in terms of functionality. We looked at editing a table, where to find our table, where to find our field, how to edit our field, how to edit a record, and then basically formatting inside of Access. There's an activity if you guys want to do it. It's on Google Drive. I've shared this with you on the link. You guys can have access to it. If you don't have access to it, just send me an email and then I'll share those activities with you. It's not compulsory to do the activities, but that may assist just kind of in consolidating what work we've just done and basically focus on everything that we've just done in this lesson. What we'll do in our next lesson is we'll look at the main features of Access, not just the table. We've looked at one feature, which is the table. We look at the other features that you get within Access. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, you're more than welcome to email me. I'm happy to respond at aflint@housing.co.za. Priyanka, so you got a question there. I just want to find it. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, sir. I didn't get the link as yet. So do you mind going back to that slide for me,
no
please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
This is the link over here. I'm not sure. Just let me know if it does open. If it doesn't open, then I may just have to share it with you in another form.
Since this is a video, it won't open for them. Is there maybe where you can copy and paste it into the chat?
Just the link, eh?
Yeah, just the link.
Okay. It's not a video. It's
No, I mean,
yeah.
They see the video of the PowerPoint, so they can't click it. Yeah.
Okay. No problem. Let me get it now. I'm just waiting for it to open. Oh. Okay, so I'm going to share it on the chat over here. This is a link to the, oh man, where's the chat gone? Okay, this is a link to the Google Drive over here, where you can find sort of the PowerPoints as well as the links. But what I'll also do is I'll actually copy the activity as well as the PowerPoints for you guys. Let's go through a couple of questions that you guys can answer based on the work that you just did. This is also just you should have access to all of them, but like I said, if you don't, just pop me an email and then I'll actually share it with you. You can also take down my email address if you want to message me. Yeah, like I said, if these aren't working, you're more than welcome to go back to the PowerPoint, get my email address, send me an email, and then you take it from there. Cool. If there aren't any more questions, then I guess you guys are more than welcome to go. And then, yeah, we'll take it up tomorrow again. Try and invite your friends as well from your schools.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Greg.